Hello, ladies. It's me. I'm here. I'm late as usual. So I'm really short. So let me see if I can make this better. I feel like I'm looking up. Like I'm not looking straight at you guys. I can't tell if there's anybody watching. So when you hop on, please say hi. Let me know. Go ahead and hashtag live if you're catching this live. If you see the little red. Look, I can't even point. The little red in the corner. Okay, this is too awkward. The little red in the corner, the little red box that says live. If not, then you're catching the replay, and hashtag replay for me. If you're watching this later or tomorrow or another day, just keeps me aware of who's watching and when. So first of all, today I felt really called to come on and talk about my what I feel is connected to my purpose. And I've been trying to work toward working in my purpose for a while now, and I've been kind of scared, kind of holding back, not wanting to talk about the subject, not only personally, but not knowing how to bring it up or how to tie it into what my audience is used to seeing from me. But I am wanting to switch over to advocating more toward women who have experienced domestic abuse of any sort and of all sorts. But I did not know that today, or this month, October, today's the last day of the month, is actually National Domestic Abuse Awareness Month. And that was launched back in 1987, I think. Yeah, so it was to connect and unite individuals and organizations working on domestic violence issues and to raise awareness of these issues. So over the past 30 years, there's been a lot of progress to support domestic violence victims and survivors, and to hold abusers accountable, and to create and update legislation to further those goals. So that's really that's like confirmation that, yeah, there's a reason why you felt a tugging on your heart to go live today. It's the last day of the month, and October in 1987 is when this was launched. So I found that out today, and I was like, wow, really? So first of all, if you're on, please say hi. Please, you can't share, but tag people, let people know that we're over here in the group doing this. I'm going to be doing a lot more things. I don't know exactly what or how I'm able to help in this arena, but I know that I'm going to help in this arena. So the thing is that I want to do more talks like this where other women can comment. I want to do interviews with professionals and women who have been through this. I want to do challenges, live challenges, things like that. And even, just lots of things. I have lots of things in my mind that I want to help in this area with, but I don't know exactly where that's going to take us or how it's going to look yet. So I'm just trusting God to guide me through this whole thing, really. But let's start by talking about what domestic violence is. So what it boils down to is the abusers need to have power and control, and how they choose to assert that power or control over their spouse or their significant other is through abuse. It could be physical, mental, psychological, sexual, and I want you to keep in mind that sexual abuse goes hand in hand with physical abuse. That need to assert that dominance over someone does not stop at the bedroom door. In fact, it's often escalated there. A lot of people don't understand when I say that I do have sexual trauma, and that affects me still to this day. Mostly only when I feel like somebody's being pushy with me, or where I've said no, or I'm not wanting to do things, and they don't stop pushing toward it. That's where I get the trauma, and I get the post-traumatic stress, basically, is what happens to me. So I get post-traumatic stress, and it's not good. It's embarrassing, but really the people who caused this for me should be the ones who are embarrassed because they shouldn't be pushing, honestly. But yeah, so people don't understand that. I get that when I'm like, no, I haven't been raped, so to speak. No, I haven't been, a victim of date sex crimes or things like that, but it's very much prevalent in domestic violence. Sometimes in ways that you don't understand are sexual abuse, but you feel humiliated and you feel almost like you don't have a choice. But mostly humiliation. Like you feel like you're not a part of it. Like it's not about you, it's about them. Like it's about you become a tool to get this person off, basically. Everything's about them. But let's start with what domestic violence is. It's the willful intimidation, physical assault, battery, sexual assault, and or other abusive behavior as part of a systematic pattern of power and control perpetrated by one intimate partner against another. It includes physical violence, sexual violence, threats, economic and emotional, psychological abuse. The frequency and severity of domestic violence varies dramatically. And that's true. And I'll tell you, even within my own experience with it, it varies dramatically from year to year, from day to day. It was just like never knowing. You never know how far the person's going to take it or when that person's going to attack, basically, whether that be physical or mental. So I have a few statistics for you guys here. Did you know that in the United States, more than 10 million adults experience domestic violence annually? 10 million a year. So if each of these adults experienced only one incident of violence, an adult in the U.S. would experience violence every 3 seconds. That's huge, you guys. That's if say I've been abused. Say I only experienced abuse once in my marriage. Well, that's way more than once, okay? That one time that would be every 3 seconds. But people are abused more than once in their relationships. So, however, because domestic violence is a pattern, many experience repeated acts of abuse annually. So an incident of abuse happens far more frequently than every 3 seconds. That's what I was getting to. Anyways, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 10 men experience sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner during their lifetime, with physical violence related impacts such as being concerned for their safety, post-traumatic stress disorder, symptoms, injury, or needing victim services. Approximately 1 in 5 female victims and 1 in 20 male victims need medical care. Female victims sustain injuries 3 times more often than male victims. 1 in 5 female victims and 1 in 9 male victims need legal services. 23.2% of women and 13.9% of men have experienced severe physical violence by an intimate partner during their lifetime. From 2016 through 2018, the number of intimate partner violence victimizations in the U.S. increased 42%. On a typical day, domestic violence hotlines nationwide receive over 19,000 calls. That's 19,000 calls a day nationwide. And think of how many women aren't calling, or how many neighbors or family members aren't calling. I understand that as a family member or neighbor, you feel it's not your place. I actually have another live that I'm going to do that helps people to have a plan to help their friends, their family members, their coworkers without overstepping boundaries, but making sure that those people know how to stay safe, how to get help, that you're there for them, without having to risk the relationship. It says that an abuser's access to a firearm increases the risk of intimate partner femicide by 400%. In 2018, partner violence accounted for 20% of all violent crime. Intimate partner violence is most common against women between the ages of 18 and 24. 19% of intimate partner violence involves a weapon. So what's the impact of domestic violence? It's prevalent in every community, and it affects all people regardless of age, socioeconomical status, sexual orientation, gender, race, religion, or nationality. Physical violence is often accompanied by emotionally abusive and controlling behavior as part of a much larger systematic pattern of dominance and control. Domestic violence can result in physical injury, psychological trauma, and even death. The devastating consequences of domestic violence can cross generations and last a lifetime. So what I would think about is my daughters, my son. My daughter's seeing this and thinking that this is how men treat women and that this is okay and this is acceptable. Or even worse, like in my situation, I feel like it was normal to me. And so even though I know it's wrong, a part of me feels like something is very wrong when it's not present in a relationship. So it's almost like it was normal, and it's not normal, and I don't want my kids growing up thinking it's normal. I don't want my son growing up and thinking this is how men treat women and this is what he should do to women, or vice versa. I don't care if the man's the perpetrator or the woman. It's not right, and kids don't need to be witness to that or be affected by that. It really affects who they are and their future and their chances of being abused or being abusers in the future. So I'm going to skip over like the sexual assault statistics and stalking statistics, homicide statistics. 1 in 2 female murder victims are killed by intimate partners. 1 in 2, that's half, by intimate partners. A study of intimate partner homicides found 20% of victims were family members or friends of the abused partner, neighbors, persons who intervened, law enforcement responders, or bystanders. 65% of all murder-suicides are perpetrated by intimate partners. 96% of murder-suicide victims are female. 96%. Most intimate partner homicides are committed with firearms. So the physical and mental effects. Victims of intimate partner violence are at an increased risk of contracting HIV or other STDs due to forced intercourse and or prolonged exposure to stress. Intimate partner victimization is correlated with a higher rate of depression and suicidal behavior. Only 34% of people who are injured by intimate partners receive medical care for their injuries. A lot of them are afraid to come forward. They're afraid of the backlash from the community, from family, from the partner themselves, afraid the abuse will get worse, or afraid they'll leave them, because what we'll learn in future lives and stuff that I'm going to be doing and workshops is that women who are abused are often, it's a system, and we're very much, I don't want to say brainwashed, but trained to think that we can't survive on our own, that we need our abuser, that we can't provide financially, that we aren't good enough parents, that we don't make good enough decisions, just a lot of things, or that people are going to blame us. We're embarrassed. We don't want to be stigmatized or defined by that. So it's hard for people to come forward. It says here that the economic effects are that, hold on a sec. Victims of intimate partner violence lose a total of, not thousand, what's after thousand? Million, 8 million days of paid work each year, the equivalent of 32,000 full-time jobs. That I believe. Intimate partner violence is estimated to cost the U.S. economy between $5.8 billion and $12.6 billion annually. Up to 0.125 of that is national gross domestic product. 21 to 60% of victims of intimate partner violence lose their jobs due to reasons stemming from abuse. Between 2003 and 2008, 142 women were murdered in their workplace by a former or current intimate partner. This amounts to 22% of workplace homicides among women. Those statistics are overwhelming. They're sad. Personally, I never feared for my life. Never did I ever fear for my life. Mine was more like a fear of being alone, a fear that I couldn't do it on my own, a fear of failure, a fear that nobody else loved me or was going to love me. And these are all things that were told to me, repeatedly drilled into me. And I believed. In my situation, there was like just a plethora of events and things that happened and changed in my life that created the perfect storm. I'm a smart girl. Woman. I'm a smart woman. I'm 38 years old. I still call myself a girl. I'm a smart woman. I know right from wrong. I know how I should be treated. I know that I don't deserve certain things or do deserve certain things, you know. I know how to treat people. I know how I want my child being treated and treating others. It was a situation where I didn't have the support. I didn't have friends and family to tell me to, you know, when you're being gaslighted and you're being told you're crazy and you don't know what to believe anymore, and all you have is this person who's telling you these things and you're isolated, it really plays with your brain and your mind and the way that you think and see the world. And you start to think, yeah, like, nobody does love me. Like, everybody abandoned me. Everybody abandoned me because I refused to leave. That makes perfect sense to me. Like, you can't put up with that anymore. I get it. But I didn't have anywhere to go, and I didn't have anyone to turn to. A lot of times I didn't have any means to support myself. Sometimes I was actually the one supporting the whole household, and yet I was afraid to leave, that I couldn't do it on my own. Even if I realized I was financially the breadwinner, and I was the one doing it all at home too, I was like, who's going to be there for me emotionally? You know, I feared losing that little bit of support that I did get. So you may wonder, like, how I like know the things I know, or how I can serve to help and like do future workshops. This folder right here, I saved this. So when I was pregnant with Ava, I went and stayed in the Women's Crisis Center here in Twin Falls. I only stayed a week. My reasons are my reasons. Nobody had told my stepdaughter that I had left, and she had called me, and she was on her way from Oregon to visit for Thanksgiving, and I didn't have the heart to tell her that me and her future sister that's in my belly weren't going to be there, and had in fact left, and you know, all of that. I didn't have the heart to tell her that. Also, I had gotten very sick when I was there, and I was pregnant. I was scared because it was cold. It was very, like, I mean, I don't want to discourage anyone from getting help, because you should go get help. But I do want to encourage the people that do provide help. Like, we need to find a way to make these situations more comfortable for women. Like, we have to leave an abuser. We have to leave our families. We have to leave everything that we know is safety. Everything that we know. And that's uncomfortable enough. That's hard enough to do. But when we go to like a stark cold situation, I was roommating with someone I was sure was a drug addict. She was up all night rummaging through things. Once I said something, she was drug tested and she had to leave the place. But I mean, we just need to make it more, the women have to jump through the hoops when we leave. We have expectations set on us, and I know that's hard, but at the same time, there are people there to help and guide us. There are resources handed to us. There are resources in your community. There's resources in my community. If you're in my community and you want to know resources, I'm gonna get to that eventually. Like, one day we're gonna do a live about resources, but reach out to me if you want to know your resources today. There are plenty of resources out there. But they're not going to be the most comfortable. You are going to be required to do things. You are going to have to make a plan, make a budget, make a, financial future plan. Like, there's a lot of things. You're going to have to do counseling. You're going to have to do group counseling. But you're also going to be offered these things for free. And that's invaluable. And I can't tell you how much that helped me. You might even be offered like a gym membership or yoga class, or a lot of things are made available to women when they leave these situations, because people know that it's not comfortable. But we also have to be aware that we have to want to be away from our abuser bad enough that we're willing to be uncomfortable, that we're willing to go through hard things. I mean, I'm not saying that like we should have to be expected to work hard to not be abused. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that it's going to be hard to leave somebody. It's going to be like even after you leave somebody, you're going to miss them. You're going to feel like you can't make it when times get hard financially. You're going to want to revert back to old ways of thinking. They may stalk you. They may threaten you. They may withhold money from you. Economic stress is a huge thing that they use. Or your children. They may use your children. My ex still likes to use my children against me by how little he's willing to help with them. He's tried the money issues. He's tried, everything else that he saw, a window or a door, my weaknesses. He tried, and the things that I proved that I was not going to cave on, he backed off on, and he still uses the kids, like how much he's willing to help with them, because he knows it's hard being a single parent. He uses that to control a part of my life that he shouldn't have control over, and that's my social life mostly. But I have this book. I saved this. This was my folder when I went there, and it has a lot of information in here. Like, it has like the power and control wheel. It talks about the 8 tactics that abusers use against their victims, and how they keep them there, and to get them to submit to them. It talks about the cycles of abuse. Talks about focusing on emotional abuse, focusing on physical abuse, focusing on sexual abuse. It talks about boundaries, time boundary, places boundaries, people boundaries, and how those overlap to protect ourselves. Tells us the 12 signs of a batterer, and it helps you to figure out if you are in a battering relationship or not. Like, it tells you how to pinpoint those things. It tells you why women stay in these relationships. Because I feel like that was like a big question my family had. Like, why don't you just leave? Why are you with him? They did give up on me eventually. I stayed with him for 10 years. 10 years. And even in the end, the abuse was nowhere, it was not physical at all anymore. The physical abuse was periodical, and it coincided directly with his relapses with drugs. So whenever he would get on drugs, he would get, those tendencies in him would be heightened, like to the max. Like, it was the worst version of himself. They would come out more, and that's when things would get really bad. But like, still the need for control, the need to assert his male privilege, or what my job is as a woman, things like that were always present. Always belittling, badgering, put downs, things like that. And those things are, in fact, harder to overcome than the physical violence, I believe. I really believe that in my soul. When I went to the crisis center, it was like at the urgency of a friend, and I had confided in her, like, that it was the night before, like, me and him had an argument, and he ended up punching me in the stomach, and I was pregnant with Ava at the time. And I was afraid for my baby. I didn't go to the hospital that night. I was like, oh, I can feel her moving. She's okay, you know? But, like, deep down, I was like, I just don't know. So, a lot of times, we stay in relationships for our children. And sometimes we're able to come forward because of our children. So, when I went to the hospital and they told me she was okay and everything like that, a police officer came and did a police report. I did not file charges. And then they urged me to go to the Women's Crisis Center. They had a space for me there. A lady came and met me at the hospital. I had already grabbed some things when I left, so I had a few things. I think I did go back with her and get some more things when he was gone, but she came with me. I wasn't allowed to have contact with him. I didn't want to. And they just had me on the right track, the right path to, like, I mean, when I say healing, like, there's the kind of healing I've been doing for the past year and a half, and that's, like, healing myself, like, who I became, the coping mechanisms that I learned because of his behavior, that I thought that were a part of me, but they're not part of me. That's not who I am. That's who I had to be, like a survival mode kind of thing, or to protect myself. And those are the things I've been working on. But, like, healing as far as when you're in it, it's a whole different story. I mean, your head is not right. You still believe the gaslighting. You still, like, you don't have any proof that you can do it. Things like that. So I feel like there are many forms of healing, many ways to heal too. But I'm still healing. I'll probably always be healing. There'll probably always be parts of me that get healed or that I find are broken and need healed. And those only come out when they come out, I guess, you know? I don't know. I'm just still navigating it. I'm not currently in any sort of counseling. I had an awesome counselor. Her name was Donna Grayville here in the Magic Valley. And she does work with the Women's Crisis Center. And when I left the Women's Crisis Center, I so admired her and I so respected her opinion. And she was so gentle with me in my counseling that I didn't want to tell her I went home. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed of myself. And so it was time for me to have my weekly counseling. And I avoided her. I wouldn't answer her calls, nothing. And she knew I'd left. Like, they told her I'd left the home. But I didn't think about that. Like, I didn't want to tell her. She finally left me a message and she said, I know that you're back home. I understand that. Now more than ever, I want you to continue counseling with me for free. And I continued counseling with her for free for a long time afterward. And it really helped me a lot. She's an awesome lady. But, so we talked about what domestic violence is. I could give you some statistics in Idaho, but this would be way outdated, so I don't want to do that because these are like 2014, 2013 statistics. When I stayed there, it was 2016. No, it was 2015, about to be 2016. So, my book also talks about helping us to understand the personality traits and personal traits of safe and unsafe people for us, and the interpersonal traits of unsafe people, and what safe people will look like. So, I mean, those are things that I want to dive into on another day. Like, safe people, for instance, is like a person who accepts me just like I am, someone who creates love and good works within me, someone who increases love within me, someone I can be myself around, someone who helps me to deny myself for others and God, someone who helps me be more like Christ, someone who helps me love others more. It just gives you examples, because a lot of us women can't recognize that once we've been so brain fucked, mind fucked. It's like when you're in the middle of that, it's very hard to see up from down, forward from backward. And then it has in here like your support system, your finances, household. It just helps you to develop a plan for your future. Now, when I left this last time, I was trying to develop a plan, because for me, I feel safer when I have a plan, when I know what's coming next. Just like small kids. Kids need a routine, they need a plan, they need to know what's coming next. Or else they're like, whoa, no, not happening. Well, that's how I am. Like, if I know what I'm going to do and how it's going to look and what the outcome might be, then I'm more likely to take action. So I was trying to develop a plan. I wasn't working at the time. I had been home for 2.5 years because I had both kids in daycare, and at that point, and it was like all of my income was going to that, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I'll just wait until they go to all-day school, like, grade school. And so that was my plan. I was definitely going back to my career. But I was just taking a break, and then COVID hit, and it got to the point where I couldn't even stand being in this relationship anymore. I avoided it. I avoided him. I had found myself. So I have a friend, her name, I'm not going to tell her name, but I've known her since I was 10, and like right out of high school, she moved to Vegas, and she had a big career with a law firm there, and she made a lot of money, and she recently had moved back a few years prior to us connecting, and we connected. Like, she just told me, like, you just like aren't yourself. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you seem sad, like you think you're beneath everyone's above you, like and then for the first time in my life, I wanted to lose weight, and I tried to lose weight, and I did lose weight, and I was doing that, and my ex could not stand it. Like, he fought me tooth and nail. Like, I walk in the door and you walk out. Yeah, because that's the only time that I can go do this when you're here with the kids, because we can't pay anybody, right? Or it takes you 2.5 hours to walk 10 miles. Yeah, it does. Or why the heck are we eating brown rice? I like my white rice. Stop buying this crap. It got to the point to where he pushed me further and further away, because I would cook their dinner and have it ready for them, just the same as they always ate, and I would go eat at my friend's house before we'd go walk. And then he would text me and like badger me the whole time I'm gone, just belittling and rude, and when are you coming back, and you're a bad mom, and you're a bad wife, and all this. And so I would avoid coming back afterward. I'd go back to her house and hang out till I thought he had fallen asleep, and then I would sleep on the couch so I wouldn't wake him up. That went on for like 5 months, and then I didn't even have a plan or a job necessarily when I was just feeling like I can't do this anymore. And I think that's the way it happens sometimes, and I hope that women aren't afraid. Like, I know, like, I'm like a hypocrite. I hope you're not afraid, though, because there are resources out there for you, like resources you don't even know of. And I knew there were resources. I just didn't want to be uncomfortable. I didn't want to give up my life. Like, everything else about my life I was happy about. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about the reasons that women stay in these relationships right now, because I feel like that's a big thing that people don't want to help, or people disown or lose hope in their loved ones getting out of these relationships, because they just adamantly refuse to leave, or they keep going back. Even me, I have a friend who I help a lot. So her situation, I call him my ex's name Junior, only he's a lot worse, because I believe this person to be a sociopath as well. Very, very crazy person, very controlling. In fact, I haven't seen my friend in months because he won't allow it right now. But every time she leaves, she comes, come stay with me. Whatever you need, we'll get by. I don't care. You don't have a job. You have your daughter. I don't care. Like, we'll make do and we'll figure it out. And I think the longest she stayed with me was a week, and like it actually keeps going back. And that's part of the reason why I'm to blame in his eyes, because she comes to me like it's my fault. And so it's hurt our relationship, but no matter what, I don't care how many times she goes back. If she comes to me and she needs help, I will help her. I will be there for her, no matter what, honestly. And I really hope that people let their loved ones know that, because it's important. Like, I felt trapped for so long, I didn't see a way out. And I stayed a lot of years, and I endured a lot more pain and abuse than I would have. I feel like because I felt alone. I was alone. But anyways, I have all these things we can do and look at, and just to learn and know. I feel like speaking up is the first step, and like knowledge and educating people who aren't abused or have never been in this situation, so that family members and friends will be more supportive or more encouraging of people to get help, or so that victims will realize that there's help for them out there. I feel like just people learning and knowing these things helps a lot. Look at my cat. I see my cat, Priscilla. Anyway, so let's talk about some of the reasons why let's talk about how victims feel. I'll talk about how I felt. So I wanted the abuse to end, but I didn't want my relationship to end. Part of that's like I'm really stubborn, and I didn't want my family to be right and me to be wrong. I didn't want to have to admit that the things I sacrificed and gave up and lost to keep this relationship, it wasn't worth it. I didn't want to be wrong, and I didn't want to, like, I had an ex-husband to save face to that's happy in his relationship, and I couldn't be unhappy in mine, right? I couldn't, like, that was a big reason right there. I never really totally got over my first marriage, to tell you the truth. I jumped right into this one, and I gave my second marriage, my second husband, all the things, because I was with my first husband since I was like 19, and he was 17, and we split up when I was 26, 27, I think. And I walked away. Like, I just walked away. Like, I didn't try to fight for that marriage. And he was a pretty decent man. He was a good man. Like, I love him to death to this day. Like, I always will. He's the father of my daughter. Father of my daughter. We have a lot of good memories together, and we get along, for the most part. We have our moments. There's definitely been some issues, but a lot of that in the beginning was because we weren't over each other. And a lot of it now has just been like, struggles or misunderstandings, co-parenting, things like that. But we respect each other, and we get along for the most part. And he's been there for me through some hard times, even throughout this divorce too. But I didn't fight for that marriage at all, and I wish I had. I really wish I had. I regret that. That's one of my biggest regrets. And so I feel like I gave my second husband everything I knew I didn't give my first, and as far as holding on and letting him drag me through the mud, and being loyal and dedicated and faithful and refusing to give up. But so I felt isolated, and especially when we lived in the country, very isolated. We had one phone that we shared. I didn't have internet on it. It was just like, the numbers, and like you push you push the number a couple times to get the letter you want to text. It was bad. I was depressed. I felt helpless. I was at that time unaware of services that were available to me to help me. I didn't know where I could go, what I could do, how I could get help. I was embarrassed, very embarrassed. I was afraid of being judged. And a lot of times I denied that there was any abuse. I minimized the abuse. I made excuses for the abuse. Part of it was because I loved him, and part of it was because that's what he was doing to me. And I believe him, eventually, even if it sounds absurd, you start to believe absurd things when that's the only thing you hear and you don't have anyone voicing reason to you. I was still in love with him. That's what it took for me to leave, was that I love him. Like, I'll always love him. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't necessarily think that he's going to abuse someone else in a relationship. I think that he will. So, there's give and take. I think he will take as much as he can take, and he will walk over as much as he can walk over. But I think it also takes the other person being strong. It takes the personalities, It could have just been we were a perfect storm. I don't know. I don't think he's a horrible person. I don't think he's a monster. I'm not afraid of him at all. There were times when I was afraid of him. I do love him. He is the father of my children. I'm not in love with him. That's the big difference right there. Like, I had to be not in love with him. So I had left him for like a year. When Ava was about 2 months old, I had a good friend of mine offer for me to come stay at her and her family's. I got on my feet. I started paying rent. I was supporting us. About a year I did that. That's when I first started working at Head Start. Ava was 9 months old. And it was a hard time because I left him physically, but I didn't leave him in my heart. Like, I would still go back to that situation he was living in, which was an Airstream trailer in his family's junkyard. That's where I lived when Ava was born. And that's where I lived for a few years. I would go back there to see him, to spend time with him. Like, oh, you're still my husband. I still love you. Like, I just can't live with you because I'm not going to risk losing my child because of the way you choose to live. And that was, like, my reasoning. Like, I was still with him. Everyone wished I wasn't still with him, or some people even thought I wasn't still with him, but I was still with him. That's the kind of control that people get over you when they get in your head, though. So, anyways, I ended up getting pregnant with Mason, and about the same time I told him I was pregnant with Mason, he ended up getting arrested and going to jail. And he was in jail for a few months, and he was clean and sober, and I knew when he came out he's on probation, and he's making all these promises and love bombing me, and of course I want my marriage. Of course I was still in love with him. Of course I want, I have a child by him. I'm about to have another child by him. I said, okay, you're sober now, let's give it a shot. But I had very high risk pregnancy because of my health. I couldn't have a lot of stress, high blood pressure, a lot of things like that. In fact, in the end of my pregnancy with Mason, I had to go do stress tests every day to see if he was stressed. But so I couldn't handle the stress of reliving or hashing out the past. So we swept it all under the rug and we didn't deal with it. And we were very happy for my pregnancy and even when Mason was very first born. But eventually, not long after he was born, I started to think I was like, you love him. Yeah, of course you love him. Of course you want to grow old with him. Like, you fought for it this long. You endured all that. Now things are better. Things are good. You guys are happy. There's nothing bad going on. And you're not happy. And I didn't know. I kept fighting him. Like, no. This is what I want. This is what I want. No. And then eventually, it got to the point where I was, disgusted by him. Like, the thought of him touching me, because there were so many sexually abusive acts in our marriage before. I really feel that I couldn't let that go. I was mad at him, but I was more mad at myself. How could you believe that somebody who did all these things loves you, even if they're on drugs, even if, okay, that's not love. And that's not love now. And you deserve more now. I was mad at myself for staying, and I just couldn't stay anymore. But I kept staying. And so that resulted in me being don't touch me, you disgust me. And any husband, like, is not going to be, I mean, that's, a husband's going to go outside of the marriage eventually or leave you or like whatever. And that's all good and true in a normal marriage. And I even had my counselor say, well, why don't you just put out sometime? Our counselor, our marriage counselor, because we perceived the problem as me, a sexual problem with me after having Mason, that I was postpartum or something like that, And so we started counseling, couples counseling, and she was actually his relapse prevention counselor as well. And I felt like she was very biased in the situation at first. She didn't know me. She knew him. She didn't know what he was like in the past. She only knew how wonderful he seemed to be now. Because as okay as he is at home now, he's even more wonderful in front of people. Because he has to be. Like, that's just how people are. I feel like you have to look good in front of people. But she told me, like, maybe you just need to buck up and give it up to your husband sometimes. And that really hurt me. That broke me. And that made him feel like, oh, yeah, and it when I finally went to a counseling session and I went in there manic, because I'm bipolar, I told him, I don't want to go to counseling tonight because I'm manic. And when I'm manic, I talk too much. And I say things I don't necessarily want to say. And they slip before I say them. So I had been holding back. I had been not wanting to bash him, not wanting to talk bad about him or rehash the past or bring it up, because I'd been trained not to. And I'd been told, like, oh, that's the past, why you gotta bring it up, throw it in my face all the time, and it's like, because it affects me today. Point blank, it affected me. And I'm just as important as he is. Like, I'm a person too. So I had a right to say those things, but I didn't. And I knew I was going to talk too much. And he's like, no, we're going to counseling. You're not getting out of it. So we went to counseling, and I was manic, and I told her things I never told her before. And I told her a lot of things, and she was in complete shock. And she actually apologized to me, and she said, I had no idea. I am so sorry. Like, what I said to you could have been so damaging. And I forgive her. But I feel like in that profession, you have to be really careful with what you say. I even once had a doctor, so we took him to the doctor for some depression medicine or something, and he was just off of drugs at this point again, and he needed depression medicine, and we're talking about it and everything with the doctor, or the mental health specialist came in first, right? This is at Family Health Services. And he's talking about all this stuff, and I'm not even the patient there. And she looks at me and she says, so what I want to know is what's wrong with you that you're staying with him through all this. I got so mad. Like, so I'm the type of person that I don't necessarily get sad and broken. Like, that's why I think people find it hard to believe that I was a victim of abuse at all, because I get mad. I stand up for myself. I stand up for other people, and I fight back. And you know what? It doesn't matter if you fight back. Like, eventually you're going to fight back. Basically, a person who's abused is going to have these choices to make every time she's confronted with abuse or being controlled or belittled. She's going to decide whether or not this is the day I want to take a stand and have a fight. This is the day I want to leave because it's never going to change. Or this is the day that I'm going to just shut up and do as I'm told, or take it because I don't know what kind of mood he's in today or what he might do, or I don't have the energy, or my children are watching, or, those are the choices that we're faced with. And those are choices that I made often. And I often chose to stand up and fight because I'm a feisty one. I'm a feisty one. I've always said, like, somebody may hit me, they may hurt me, they may, like, get me down, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to get back up and let them know that if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. And it may not hurt them. I don't know how to punch. I don't know how to hit, but I just refuse to be a doormat anymore at some point in time, But those were things that I was feeling. I withdrew emotionally from my friends and family. I had no friends and family. My only friends and family were his friends and family, which made it harder to leave. Because what it boils down to is like those are his people in the end. Like when I did leave him, I love his family to death. I also know they enable him. I also know like they're his people. So in the end, I had to take them off of my social media. I had to like not, I had been distancing myself for quite a while. Not because I don't love them or I don't miss them or I blame them or any of that. I see them as people and we all do the best that we can in life. But because I needed to be able to feel free to speak my truth and to heal in my own way, whether that be publicly or privately, without backlash or without hurting people's feelings. And I knew that he needed his people and I should have mine to turn to. And I do have mine in my life more now, but I don't have them to turn to like I once did. And I don't. Like, that's me. That's not them. It's because I don't. We aren't close. We haven't been close in a lot of years. I'm not going to reach out and ask for help. That's just how I am. I'm too damn stubborn and proud. But I distanced myself. I did get impulsive and aggressive. You guys have seen my shopping habits. So these are things that can be when you're still with the person or after post breakup. Like you're going to go through a whole bunch of feelings and things and phases and you're not even going to understand it. Like I was spending like crazy. I wasted so much money and I regret it. And like today I'm like, oh gee, maybe I wouldn't be struggling today if I had that money I wasted, you know? But it was all impulse, and I have been aggressive. I am aggressive toward people still, because I'm like, nobody's gonna get one over on me. I'm smart. I let people know, like, I have little dog syndrome. Like, I'm gonna bark as loud as I can so that I don't have to bite. Like, leave me alone. Do not mess with me. I've been messed with enough. I don't want to be messed with anymore. So, this is the biggie. I was financially dependent. Like, I didn't know how I was going to support myself for my kids, which is really crazy because I kept the apartment. I assumed the $4,800 we were behind in rent, along with all the other bills we were behind in. I had a vehicle that needed fixing on every day, needed air in the tires every day that I didn't know how to fix or maintenance or anything. I had to do it. I just did it. And it was scary. You don't have to do it that way, but sometimes it's the only way. I felt guilt. I felt shame. I felt anxiety. A lot of times there's drug and alcohol abuse involved when you're in a relationship that's abusive because it messes with your head and you want to numb out. And in my situation, I kept on experiencing and having to live with and having to fix his mess ups and deal with the consequences of his actions over and over and over again. And eventually you start to feel like, I'm going to have to deal with this anyway, so it may as well be me having fun. You know, I mean, sad to say, like, I have issues too. I have had issues too in the past. But those were issues that stemmed from this, not from like my childhood, from my life. It was something that's easily overcome for me. Like, I was always hopeful that he would change, that he would stop, that he'd keep his promises. For a lot of years, we were very active in church. I haven't been really close with my daddy in heaven in a long time. I mean, I've had little moments where I have been. And I think that this all stems back to like when I very first left him, I moved in with my friend's family when I had Ava. She was 2 months old. That year, I started feeling like really high and mighty, like I'm doing this. I'm doing this on my own and I'm making it and I'm doing it, you know, I'm doing it and I'm doing it. And I forgot to like recognize that that's God allowing me to do that God's helping me do that. And I didn't give him any credit. And I was very blind to that fact for a lot of years. That kept me from him for a lot of years. And now it's just like, I'm trying to get back there. I'm just not there yet because I have a little hang up with religion. I'm all good on spirituality and a close personal relationship. But when it comes to religion, like I do believe in going to church and in surrounding yourselves with other believers and to be uplifted, and iron sharpens iron, and coming to a place of worship and having that support system and that family. I do believe in that. But I also feel a little let down because I was very much guided toward salvaging that marriage, staying in it. Divorce isn't an option. Your husband comes first. Your husband is number one. Number one biggest regret in my life. When you already have a child, your husband is not number one. I don't care what anyone says, and I bet you Jesus himself will tell you this. Your husband is a grown-ass man, and he can take care of himself. You brought a child into this world that needs you. They are your number one. You don't stand by a man and send your child to live with their other parent. It should have been me and her against the world, and that's my biggest regret ever. And she knows that. And she understands, and we know we have a really good relationship to this day. Like, I love her so much. But I sent her away to protect her, when in reality I should have protected both of us, and I should have been there for her. So that's where I have a problem with, like, church and organized religion right now. You have no support from family or friends. You're afraid of community backlash. You have nowhere to go to get away from them. Some women are afraid, like, their man's actually going to hunt them down and kill them. Like, I get that. I didn't have that issue. I was never afraid of that. Just the fact that he wouldn't let me go. I never thought he would kill me or anything like that. I couldn't support myself. We had children together. The deciding factor in me being like, okay, this is it. Like, because I had told him I'm done. And for 5 months, I said, I was scared. I didn't have a job. He didn't have a place to live. And so I was like, look, we're family. I want the best for all of us. We all need to succeed. The best thing for our kids and for both of us, if we ever loved each other at all, is for us to be roommates and get on our feet. I'll get a job, you find a place, and when we're stable, we move out. So that was the plan. For 5 months, it was back and forth of, he understood that, and then it was like, you're a horrible wife. You don't spend any time with me. You don't cook my dinner. You don't do my laundry. Blah, 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 blah. Pressuring me for sex. Guilting me for sex. Forcing sex. I mean, all sorts of sexual abuse in the end there that really devastated me. To where he would, like, get mad and blow up at me and leave me. And he would go stay at his parents' house in their motorhome in their driveway for a day, 3, however long, until he got bored of it or wanted the comforts of home or whatever. And then he'd come back and say, I'm sorry. I understand we're not together. And that would just flip-flop back and forth, back and forth. Well, finally, July 5th, 2020, when he left, I noticed for a while now, and it broke my heart. My kids, I'd hear them in their room. I think Daddy's leaving again. Did Daddy move out? Looking out the window, oh, he's gone. And, like, just, it was affecting my kids. And it was upsetting them. And I said, if you leave right now, you don't come back again, because the kids can't keep going through this. At that point, I could care less. At that point, I was like, oh, yay, the house to myself, peace and quiet. But I didn't want that for my kids anymore. And so that was it. That was it right there. What else? Oh, unsupportive experiences with law enforcement, courts, or CPS in the past. If anyone's ever experienced that, which I had, you don't trust in the people who are supposed to protect you or protect your children to do that, even when you know you're in the right. So that's another reason women don't leave. I'd have to say I think the biggest reason is children. Because, okay, maybe I couldn't support myself. Maybe I'd be homeless. Maybe this, I've been all those things before. That's fine. I could handle that. But to put my kids in that situation, I could not do. And even if I could do, I would be in constant fear that he was going to take them from me and deem me unfit by the courts. And that's a hard uphill battle once that happens. So you don't want to be in a position where you're not the best parent for your child when you're going through a divorce. You know, and when you leave someone and you don't have the finances or the support, it's just scary. So I think that's a big reason why a lot of women stay too. Anyways, I wanted to tell you guys, even though I just wanted to talk about like the reasons women stay today, I also want to share with you that the kind of help that is out there for women, because I think that women need to be aware there's a lot more help out there than we think. Let me tell you here. Here we go. So, you could make a personalized safety plan. There's a form that you could fill out, like, just like in certain situations, like I can attend a victim survivor support group with a domestic violence program, like, or when I feel a fight coming on, I will try to move to a place that is lowest risk for getting hurt, such as blank at work, at home, or in public. Like this certain, like you don't want to be on the staircase probably. Or in a car. Trust me, I have been in vehicles where they're going 100 miles per hour down Buchanan just to scare you, and like it's not safe. I can screen my calls, texts, emails, and visitors. I have the right to not receive harassing phone calls, texts, or emails. I can ask friends, family members, or coworkers to help me screen my contacts. I can ask these people for help, and then like just listing people that you can have for help, people I can go to for assistance, friend, relative, coworker, counselor, shelter, other. When leaving work, I can. When walking, riding, or driving home, if a problem occurs, I can. Just having a plan in place, knowing what you're going to do in certain situations is helpful, not when you're with them and also when you leave them. Because trust me, it gets worse when you leave. Like, I'm still dealing with hell. Like, it's not as bad as it was, say, 6 months ago, but there's still abuse and situations he's trying to control and is controlling still to this day, and it drives me crazy because I'm like, you can't control me anymore. I just want that freedom. I want that independence and just knowing that nobody has control over me anymore. And I'm getting there. I just have to file those papers. We're not legally divorced yet. I feel like once I file those and I lay down the ground, like this is the way it is custody-wise, that's where the lines there's going to be a line drawn in the sand that he can't cross anymore. I just need to do that. I need to print those up and file them. So yeah, doing that, having a personal plan, accessing resources, so knowing where your resources are. Don't be discouraged by rejection. Get a list of places. Call 211. They can give you information. Have all of your essential documents like ready. Have a bag packed for you and your kids somewhere. Hide it at a neighbor's, but have like your birth certificates, your social security cards, any important information you're going to need. Have it put away somewhere. Like have it where you can access it. Take it with you. Make your calls from a place where you can engage in a conversation and take care of possible interruptions ahead of time. Don't download information or search information at home. If you're trying to leave someone, do it at the library where they can't search what you've been searching. Things like that. So there's that. Having an exit plan. Oh, where did it go? getting financial education is another way. There's webinars, there's all sorts of free curriculum that you could do to learn about budgeting. Let's see, there's rebuilding financially after domestic violence, housing options for domestic violence survivors, creating and sustaining financial well-being, income, spending, and savings, achieving financial stability. He's here dropping my kids off. Hold on.
Here's your hat. Here's this.
Hi, guys.
Here's your hat.
Mommy's on live right now. Come on in. Did you have fun? You
Here's
did?
your clothes.
You can just leave it at the door, please. Thank you.
All right. Love you guys.
Daddy!
Give Dad a hug.
Lily!
Go give a hug. Bye-bye.
Lily.
Hold on. What? Lily's here.
All right.
Hi,
Kiss and
Lillian.
hug, Ava.
Lily was in her house.
I know. Lily used to live here. Lily was our family dog, Shih Tzu. Well, it's his dog.
Tell your mom your clothes are in your backpack for your outfit.
Hi. Thank you. Can you go lock the door, please? Just lock the bottom lock for Mommy. Bubba, go lock the door really quick. Look at Mommy. One of you go lock the door. Thank you. Okay, so, where were we? Oh, I lost my spot. There was something about Christmas, like planning for holidays. Like, I'm going to do some of these, man. I'm going to take these webinars. Got my son's fireman hat on now. Feeling really cool. Where was it? Hold on, guys. Financial education.
Why are you so cute? Why are you so cute?
Planning for the holidays and setting financial goals for the year ahead. Retirement planning for domestic violence survivors and advocates. These are all free online at ncadv.org. You can watch these now. Rebuilding financially. Yeah, I mean, this is good stuff right here. And then, more resources. Mason, please stop. Thank you, sir. No, please stop. So then there's cosmetic support. So that's helping with cosmetic and reconstructive supportive program created to connect survivors of domestic violence to medical providers across the nation. For more than 20 years, they have successfully connected those in need of repairs to injuries inflicted by an abusive spouse or partner to medical providers across the United States. That's amazing. I didn't know that. That's cool. So if somebody's been like hurt physically or mutilated physically, that's really awesome right there. Let's see, there's one more thing. Safety plan for friends and family. This is what I'm talking about. If you know somebody or you love somebody who's in this situation. What?
Can we go play outside?
In a minute.
No.
Go unpack your bag. So it just says like the things that you should do. This is a plan. This plan is based in part on research findings. Since the overwhelming majority of victims are female, we have written this plan as if the woman is the victim of the male abuser. However, victims and perpetrators can be either sex, and domestic violence occurs in same-sex relationships. Remember, you are there for her. So it's telling you like don't judge her, avoid telling her that she needs to leave. She already knows that she needs to leave, but she does not feel that she can. Instead, discuss the safety plan. Don't tell her that the abuser is a jerk, because she's going to defend him, and she's going to get mad at you, and he's going to get mad at you if he hears these things. Become the victim's confidant. Assure her that you'll keep her secrets confidential. Ask her what the situation is like for her. Let her know that you are afraid for her safety, you're afraid for the children. It's not her fault. Even if he apologizes, it does not mean he'll stop. La-di-la-la. You know, it tells you all the things that you need to be and do. How you can be supportive of this woman who desperately needs you and may desperately push you away. She will push you away. I push everybody in my life away. Be aware of clergy. If the victim's going to leave her abuser, tell her not to tell her abuser or anyone who might tell him in advance. Offer her a safe place. Ava, you just wrecked my life. Don't.
Mom.
So it just has a lot of things here. And then it says some good resources. You can, safety plans to download. There's a website for safety plans. There's a hotline, internet safety, stalking resources. There's helpful books. And I... What? Okay. So, and I just want to emphasize that...
Can I go outside?
No, victims are not a certain, like, race, age, social status, economic status. They are everything. They are everyone. They're everywhere. They can be anyone. They can be me. They could be anyone. Abusers could be anyone. They could be people of high authority, people who are respected, people who don't seem mean, that you would never think, you know? They could only be this way to their spouse. It could be anybody. I just want to encourage you guys to remember that. And then also, if you are in a domestic abusive situation, Ava, stop! Please stop! You can get anonymous, confidential help available 24/7. You can call Ava. Let me give them this phone number. Go outside and play. Get your shoes on and go. The National Domestic Violence Hotline. The number is 1-800-799-7233. So it's 1-800-799-SAFE. Or you could call 1-800-787-3224 now. Or whenever you're ready. You can go online and you can do a live chat at the ncadv.org. You can text. I don't know the text number. It's in my Facebook stories. You can text. There's help out there. There's resources out there. I know all the reasons that we stay. Some people may not understand the reasons we stay. And maybe I'm really hoping that this live will help people to understand the reasons that women stay, and that we're not crazy. We're not stupid. We're responding to trauma and abuse, and that may look really weird to some people. It may look not right. People may think, I don't know what she's thinking. I don't know why she'd say for that. Or she must like it. She must invite it. She must antagonize it. And those kind of things, those kind of comments, those kind of thoughts, and abandoning your person in this situation are the worst things you can do for her. The worst. So damaging. I just want people to understand that. I'm going to do more on that. There's so many things I can share with you guys. So many things that I can help with. So if you guys like this live, let me know in the comments. I feel like this is my purpose. Like I'm here to like share my story and to help women in the same situation, because it is hard. It's hard to be in it and it's hard to leave it. I'm still suffering leaving it. It's hard. It's hard. There's days I want to give up. There's days I wanted to go back. You know, whether that be finances or being lonely or thinking it's not always bad, downplaying it in my mind, remembering the good times. It's not worth it. By the grace of God, I've held my ground. And I'm happy that I'm moving forward with my life. And I know that there is somebody out there for me eventually. You know, maybe I'm not ready for them yet. Maybe that's why, you know, or maybe I met them. Who knows, you know, but I don't have somebody right now, and it's all right. I'm lonely right now, and it's all right. He has somebody, and he likes to throw that somebody in my face. I know in my mind that
there's something wrong with her to even allow the things that she's seen and not see it as red flags. Or she's just as vulnerable herself. So I don't feel jealous of that situation. The only thing I feel jealous about is I wasn't ready for another woman in my kid's life yet. But I don't have a choice over that. And that's the thing, when you divorce somebody, you give up a lot of your rights as a parent, and that's scary too when it comes to leaving someone, an abusive relationship. Anyways, I got my carnelian. Good things coming my way. Good man's coming my way. No. I listened to my tarot reading this morning too, and I'm coming out of the dark and everything's turning around for me, and you guys, I'm on fire. Like, now is the time. Like, follow me. Sign up with my team. Like, big things are happening. Things are going to turn around. Abundance is in my future. Abundance, abundance, abundance. I'm going to let you guys go. I know there's one of you on there. I don't know who it is. I can't see the comments. I don't know how to do it on this computer. I see Danielle's commented, and I've ignored her because I haven't seen it. Your husband is never number one. Right? Right, girl? So, but like in the Bible and at church, that's what they say. Like, your husband is first, and your kids are second to your husband, you know? That's not the case. Like, and you know, I think in that sense, like, he also has to be putting you first. It can't be one-sided. Like, it's got to be an equal, you know, men are not above women. You know, it doesn't say that we came from Adam's butt or his head. We're not above or below him. We came from his rib. We're beside him. And a lot of men think that because they're the head of the household, that they're the boss, that they have this privilege, this male privilege, and that we should serve them. And yeah, serve your spouse, like, within reason. And they should be reasonable. If they love you, they're reasonable, and they do for you as well. And they want to do for you more than they want for themselves. Right? That's the way it should be. Who is talking? Totally false. The kids are first and partners are equal. Right? I totally agree. I'm just saying, like, those are the things that kept me, that I believed, that were kind of like drilled into me throughout the years in a church atmosphere. I don't blame the people, you know, that's what they, the Bible does outlay it like that and say that, but I think that's like in a perfect scenario where everything's respectful and everything is, it's just saying, like, you're supposed to give all the love you have to give and do all you can do. That's all it's saying. It's not saying, I don't think it's meant to be very, what's the word? Literal? Where are they? Can you say that again in the camera? That's Mason saying literal. Do you know what that means? You're silly. I love you. Silly boy. Okay, guys, I'm going to let you all go. Hopefully some of you catch this replay, because this was really important to me, and it was really big for me. Like, I haven't talked in great detail about a lot of things. I still haven't given anybody the nitty gritty. Like, there's some, because I almost feel like it's putting your laundry out there, you know, on social media. But that's what people will tell you to keep you quiet as well. But I don't know. Like, part of me for some time I was like, I'm past it. I'm over it. I don't need to talk about it. I don't need to rehash it. But I feel like there's a lot of people who could benefit from it. And a lot of people don't know me. They don't know why I am the way I am, or who I am, or what I've been through, or what I know. Like, people see me and they assume, which is, it's good for me, because they assume me to be a lot less than I am. Like, just a pretty little girl, quiet, sweet, naive. I'm not those things anymore. So a lot of people will unassumingly try to think they can get one over on me, but it doesn't happen often. Anyways, I love you guys. I'm going to go. Thanks for watching, Danielle.
Bye.
Thanks for commenting, because I didn't see the comments until I scrolled down, and yeah, I'm not used to going live on the computer itself, but I felt like I needed to sit down. I needed to use my phone to look things up too. Anyways, are you guys going to go trick-or-treating?
Bye.
These guys went to that Bish's RV thing with their dad yesterday, and I don't know, I thought about maybe going uptown to that, the Maine and Lincoln to how far, to Buchanan or whatever. Have a great day, girl. We will. Love y'all. Say hasta la vista. Happy Halloween.
Bye.
Bye. It's the last day of the National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, October 31st. Bye.
Bye.
How do I end this live on here? I don't even know what I'm doing, y'all. Oh, don't push buttons, baby. End live.